Alright guys, it's Sunday Fun Day. I'm enjoying a beer, waiting for my sister-in-law to show up so I can do the last oil change of the day. I did oil change on the Suburban, oil change on my brother's car, and now it's her turn. So I got a couple pieces here. You guys remember our homemade mufflers? They sound pretty good. Better than the glass packs that we had on there, the purple hornies. They were loud, but they were pretty decent. So this combination of like the auger type insert and then the perforated race bullets, it worked good. And then we got our header extensions. And why am I talking about exhaust? I have an obsession with exhaust. So if you guys remember back in September or August, I think it was it before or after Indy? I honestly don't remember. But it was in that time frame. I changed mufflers because my hooker aero chain were literally just rotting apart. I've had them since 2007, and we got our money's worth. But mufflers have become very expensive. But the options now, because of Amazon, have become really broad, because now the big names have to compete against the cheaper mufflers out there, and really there's not much to mufflers. I mean, unless you're buying a really fancy muffler. So to me, a fancy muffler is like a Corsa, like a Borla, or for American high performance, I would consider like American Muscle. I would consider the Hooker Aero Chamber one of the best mufflers out there for vintage cars, as far as them actually not choking back the engine. And I think the Super Turbo is like the second best one, and it's still a turbo muffler, but it's still considered to be one of the better flowing mufflers on the market. So we got cheap turbo mufflers. Now the difference between the Super Turbo and the regular turbo mufflers is that the corners are rounded, so it helps the air turn. But we all know that air does not like to turn, and there is an S shape inside of those turbo mufflers. So I went ahead and I ordered up a set of straight through mufflers that are Flowmaster's knockoff brand, like Flow Effects. And this is in an attempt to unchoke, unrestrict the exhaust a little bit, because we do have an X-pipe, and the X-pipe will help with the exhaust velocity. But if you're choking it back at the muffler, then you're not helping it any. It just, you're fattening up your fuel mixture. So hopefully with the freer flowing exhaust, we might see a little bit of a cleaner idle. And this is where, like, sometimes the dumbest things make a big difference. Like going back to that bad coil situation, like the coil worked and then it finally just stopped working last week. It started doing the typical bad coil stuff. But relating it back to last fall at Union Grove, we had coil issues then. So either way, I got new mufflers. I know in the last video I said I was going to just steal the coil from the Pontiac, but I was out here last night and I fired up the Pontiac. I'll upload a video of it. I haven't fired it up in a while, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to take that coil off that car just to have it as a spare. The Bonneville is pretty much going to be my daily driver for work on nice days. I am going to end up putting like a vintage heat unit in it. It needs a better radio, some better speakers, and that's about it. A different rear tire because it's got a drag radial and they suck in the rain. At least put like a treaded, I don't know, not a TA radial. I'll probably go with a Cooper Cobra, or even like the cheap Mastercraft 275 6015s, which Mastercraft isn't that bad of a tire. And just drive that. The car runs good. I actually drove it today. So, yeah, we're going to be changing the mufflers this week. I'm going to be just having the spare coil. I did want to go to a remote coil, but I was reading the coil that I want won't jive well with the module and stuff. But again, I reached out to Mr. Dave Worthington, and he's got another stock HEI body that he's going to hook us up with, I think. I may have to pay for him for this one. But I'm going to set it up for the MSD. And the reason why I want a different distributor to set up for the MSD is because if anything were to happen with the MSD, I can still stick in like my regular HEI and power it up, and we'd be in business. I've seen many guys at the track where their boxes fail or something goes wrong, and then they're stuck and fucked on race day. So Hopefully next weekend goes good. Testing goes good. I feel like we're about as ready as we're going to be. There's a couple things I still need to do that are minor besides the exhaust, like recalibrate the O2 sensor because I got a new one. Install it. Yeah, I'm yawning. I've been up since 6 in the morning. Just set that up, and really, that's kind of it. So this was just kind of like a little update, because besides like explaining what was going on last week and everything, I kind of didn't really talk much about anything that I did. But yeah, I redid the valve lash. I added evac tubes, which Tim did an awesome job TIG welding up the spouts for the valves. Now, when I run my O2, I am not going to be running. I'm not going to be running the evac tube on that header, so I don't contaminate it. And then when I'm not running it, I'm just going to pull the sensor off so I don't kill it. But either way, the evac tubes, there's debate on whether they help or not, but they certainly help the puffing out of the breathers, and I'm not seeing as many oil leaks. So we definitely had some blow by, and I definitely think it was pushing oil out of little spots. Mainly like the valve covers had, after I redid them, I had a light little leak in 2 spots. They kind of went away. And again, you're taking pressure out of the crankcase, so you're not going to push out as much oil if you are pressurizing it that much. Which even then, that's debatable what I'm even saying. So, but it did seem to help. I know that I mentioned that the number 5 cylinder, I think I have a bad either valve guide or valve seal. But there's a little bit of oil in the top of the cylinder, and that plug is a little wet. It's a little clean. It's definitely not coolant, but regardless, after putting on the evac tubes and driving it, that plug is actually looking a lot cleaner. But that could also be our tune as well. So the other thing was that, oh, God damn it, I'm forgetting that. But, yeah, I mean, that might be helping seal that up, but it's just the number 5 cylinder that is kind of a little wet, but it's dried up a lot. The more I've driven it with the evac setup, not that it's going to stop the oil from coming down the valve or anything like that. I'm not saying that at all, but if it is a ring seal issue, then it might be helping it. I don't know. But regardless of any of that crap, we got the car set up for what we need it to do, and I think we know in what direction we need to go. And we may need to jet up a little bit, but we'll find out at the track. My plugs did clean up with very little drive time, like 3-5 minutes of drive time around town here, just around my neighborhood. And then I jumped on the state route that's in front of my house, and I stood on the car and just let it eat. Took it up to 7,000 RPM. I pulled into the driveway, put it in neutral, shut it off, looked at the plugs, and a little on the lean side. So we might have to still jet up a little bit, which is impressive because right now we have 76 and 86 jets, but in the past I was running like 83s and 89s. So yeah, this thing, my last engine wanted a lot of jet and it always ran good. So I wasn't killing plugs. I ran the same spark plugs for 3 years. And it would idle, and it would drive, it would do everything. And this carburetor so far is starting to do all of that. We just have to clean up the idle. That's the only thing. But I don't feel like doing that one modification until I do something with the exhaust, because I know the exhaust will affect the tune to an extent. So I know that. So either way, I figured I would mention what we got going on, the game plan. I did take a video of the vacuum reading, and For having a solid lifter cam, I think the vacuum reading is pretty good. It's got a little bounce to it, but it's not erratic. And the vacuum reading will tell you a lot about the engine. It's got a little bounce to it, but nothing major. I'm actually fairly impressed with the amount of vacuum that I'm pulling at idle with this thing. So I'm going to put that video up there, the video of the Pontiac idling, and I'll let you guys go. I've bored you guys enough.